Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn Geography 4 lesson Air. In this chapter, we will learn the composition of the atmosphere and the structure of the atmosphere. Layers of the atmosphere. The Earth's atmosphere is the layer of the gases which protect the Earth from the radiations and cosmic rays coming from the outer space. This atmosphere acts as a blanket because it keeps the average temperature of the Earth nearly constant. The Earth's atmosphere can be divided into 5 main layers. First, troposphere. Second, stratosphere. Third, mesosphere. Fourth, thermosphere. And fifth, exosphere. Troposphere. Tropos means change. This layer gets its name from the weather that is constantly changing and mixing up the gases in this part of our atmosphere. This layer is the closest to Earth's surface. On average, the troposphere extends from the ground to about 12 kilometers. It is 7.5 miles high. The troposphere contains about 75% of all of the air in the atmosphere and almost all of the water vapor which forms clouds and rain. This is the pie chart of the troposphere: 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% other gases. Hot air balloons fly within the troposphere. Then stratosphere. Strat means layers. These layers of our atmosphere has its own set of layers. The boundary between the stratosphere and the troposphere is called the tropopause. It is the region where aeroplanes fly. The stratosphere layer extends from the tropopause to about 50 kilometers, that is 32 miles above the Earth's surface. This layer contains a thin layer of ozone molecules which form a protective layers and absorbs harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun. It is about stratosphere. The high altitude weather balloons flying into the stratosphere for monitoring atmospheric condition and climate changes. Then move to the next, mesosphere. Meso means middle. This layer is located above the stratosphere and below the thermosphere. It is the third layer in our atmospheric, which is 35 km 22 miles thick. The transition boundary which separate the mesosphere from the stratosphere is called mesosphere. It is the mesosphere fewer air molecules to absorb incoming electromagnetic radiation from the sun. Most meteoroids burn up in this atmospheric layer. Then move to the thermosphere. Thermo means heat. This layer has extremely high temperatures and located above the mesosphere and below the exosphere. The boundary between the mesosphere and the thermosphere atmospheric region is called mesopause. It is the coldest part of the Earth's atmosphere. Mesopause. The thermosphere extends from the mesopause to 700 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. The thermosphere is the thickest layer in the atmosphere. Only the light gases, mostly helium and hydrogen, are found here. The aurora, the northern lights and southern lights and satellites mostly occur in the thermosphere. Then move to the exosphere. It is the fifth layer. Exo means outside. The exosphere represents the outermost layer of the Earth's atmosphere. It extends from the top of the thermosphere to 10,000 kilometers above Earth's surface. In this layer, atoms and molecules escape into space and higher altitude satellites orbit our planet. Temperature versus height. In the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere, there is various different in temperature. You can see in the troposphere there is very below temperature. In stratosphere there is near about minus 92 temperature, and in the mesosphere it increased, and in thermosphere it increased up to 1200. why it happens. In the troposphere, during the day, a portion of the incoming of the radiant energy from the sun passes through the atmosphere, is absorbed and warms the Earth's surface. Then the heats reflect back from the ground to the tropospheric air by conduction and convection process. The temperature in the troposphere gradually decreases with increasing altitude until the tropopause is reached. In stratosphere, the stratosphere is very dry and clouds are rare. As we know, ozone is concentrated in this part of the atmosphere. This ozone absorbs soft-wave ultraviolet radiation from the sun and convert them into heat. More radiation is absorbed at higher altitudes compared to the lower stratosphere, so the temperature increases with height. Then mesosphere. The mesosphere has the coldest temperature in the atmosphere. It becomes cold enough to freeze water vapor in the atmosphere into ice clouds. The air density in the mesosphere is low than in the stratosphere below. Due to less air particles, not enough heat is absorbed, which eventually leads to a colder temperature. Apart from that, carbon dioxide in the mesosphere also helps in making this layer cold due to its cooling effect. CO2 molecules absorb heat energy when they bounce off other molecules. The CO2 releases some of that energy as photons in a process called radiative emissions. Then mesosphere.